Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop. My name is Mike Peace and I'm passionate about wood turning, and I want to share that with you through tips, tricks, techniques, and projects. Today we've got something a little bit different. I've got this package a while back from viewer Don Lyons, who was nice enough to share a piece of wood with me. This is Norfolk Island Pine. It was discovered by Captain Cook in the South Pacific on Norfolk Island, and it's 1774, and since then it's been exported to a number of different places around the world. And Don lives in Florida, and I understand it grows fairly plentifully in Florida as well as Hawaii. Now it's distinctive in that the tree limbs grow out radial, that is, they grow out all along the same line, and it's kind of a dark color. It makes these reddish looking eyes that can give it a very distinct feature. And the challenge for me and anyone else turning it is to take advantage of these eyes and incorporate those in the design in a meaningful and attractive way. So let's see if we can't do that. Now, Don has marked this bottom and top, so I assume that's might have some impact on how these eyes are going to show up, so I'm going to turn it that way, with this being the top of the vessel. I'm going to start off with putting it back between centers. Don has got some tenons on here, but it's a little bit small for my largest chuck, and I want the largest chuck jaws that I have to reduce the vibration and give me a nice solid hole. So first thing I'm going to do is put it between centers. And I'm going to do that by using what I don't often use, and that's this two-jaw spur drive, and I'm just going to tap it in a little bit. It should go in, bite in pretty well into this end grain. Okay, bring up the tailstock. Put this in here. The center holes are fairly easy to locate. Okay, so this is the bottom. I'm going to take this down and put a new tenon on it that'll fit my my larger chuck with power grip jaws. Okay, I've got this mounted between centers. It turns, looks like it turns fairly true. Because of my jaws are deep enough, I don't need to worry about really getting rid of this as much as I need to be concerned about adding that tenon I need, and I want a tenon, maybe 3.5 inches, so not a whole lot bigger than this one, so I can gauge where I'm going with the one that's already on there. Speed is up to almost 1,000, and I'm going to use this wide parting tool to actually bring this tenon down. Now, one thing I think it's important to note here, this looks like a bowl blank, but keep in mind with the grain is running in the direction of the lathe, so this is a large spindle. So there are things I'm doing here that are going to be spindle techniques. Don't try to do the same cut on a bowl blank going this way, because you're not going to necessarily get the same results. You might not get good results. An example of that is using this parting tool. I'm not hitting end grain, side grain, end grain. I'm taking a peeling cut because this is a large spindle. Now I'm making this cut slightly concave so the jaws will rest on the outside, and now I've got to put just a bit of a dovetail on here. So I'm just going to slightly rotate this in just a little bit. Okay, I've got that done. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this off and mount it in those jaws. Now this is what I mean when I said I didn't have to be too concerned about getting rid of this original tenon, because these jaws are so deep I didn't have to worry about the original tenon bottoming out. Now I want to give you some idea where I'm going with this, because I hate to watch somebody turn where I have no idea what their outcome they're shooting for. Basically, I'm going to have kind of make a large mouth hollow vessel with sloped sides and counter curve here. I'm not exactly sure what I'll do with the foot, whether I'll have a little foot on it or not. Probably will. And I want the line here, this edge, to fall near the bottom edge of those radial eyes, so the slope will catch them, and they'll be a little more prominent as I get some of the ends and the side growth. So that's at least the plan, and then I'll probably, you know, add some kind of bead here. So we're going to start by taking the slope down here, bringing this back a little bit, bringing this in to close to where the top of the form is going to be. Always spin it. So I'm just going to come in there, and first of all, I'm just going to weight some wood. See, I've got this tool balanced on my hip, and I'm just using my body, not my arms, to guide these cuts. Okay, I'm extending off tool rest a little bit, and since I'm going to be cutting this at a bit of an angle, I'm going to go ahead and adjust my tool rest about a 45 degree to give me a little more support on that cut. I'm not exactly sure where that the lip of this form is going to be, so I think I'm going to stop right there. Go ahead and take this down. Give me room to make adjustments later. Now I'm going to start shaping a little bit off the back. So the bottom, I envision this probably being the bottom of my vessel. So I'm going to take this down to give my eye a little better feel for the shape. Now I'm going to go ahead and start coming down off this corner. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and come back to the bottom of these knots and start my curve just below this bottom band. Not sure how far I want to go with that before I start hollowing. I think I'm going to go ahead and bring it up a little bit more. Cutting very cleanly. I like the way it's cutting. Okay, gonna go back to the front. I'll probably bring this down and eliminate this, but until then, I think I just want to get a feel for what that bead might look like. So I'm using a spindle gouge. So that'll give me a little feel for how that looks, and I kind of like that that look. You can see I'm beginning to just touch these, and now I've got to be a little bolder, and I don't know whether I want to slope this up or leave it or bring this across, and I guess I won't know till I take out start taking out some of these branches. Now I think I'm going to switch to a little smaller bowl gouge to take a little aggressive cut. I'm going to be cutting into end grain here, and I want to be real careful not to get any tear out. And I think maybe this is where that band's going to be, so I'm not going to take it out any further. I want a pretty wide opening for this particular hollow form, I think. Okay, you can begin to see I'm beginning to layer this out a little bit. I want to do it a little bit more, almost I think probably to the point where I'm going to be back here. I think I'm developing a little different view of this up here. I think instead of a flat, I think I'm going to Okay, I'm changing my design just a little bit. I think I'm going to make it look more like an urn, I think, with this flow. I've still got to bring this curve back here and maybe take this one down just a little bit more. Okay, I've decided I'm going to saturate these knots with a little bit of CA just to make sure I don't lose them. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and seal this with some shellac, so the CA doesn't penetrate into the wood and stain it. Okay, using a 1-inch Morse taper bit I have, I'm going to drill down. I've got it marked with tape. And I'm drilling at a fairly low speed, no faster than about 500. Just slowly ease it in. Okay, here I've got my Lyle Jameson hollowing rig set up with the back support and a D-ring handle. It's easy to use. I'm not an expert on hollowing, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details, and watching hollowing is a little bit like watching paint dry, but I'll show you a few scenes. But if you want some real expert advice, you might want to check out Lyle Jameson's site. I'll put that down in the a link in the below the description for this video. You see, I've got the straight. I've got a, I believe it's 5/16 or 3/16 inch high-speed steel hollowing point on a straight bar, and I'm just going to widen this hole, open up this cavity a little bit before I change cutters. Okay, now I'm going to change the cutter to a hooked cutter and come back behind there. So I'm going to put this curved cutter on there. With this curved tool, I'll be able to get up under the shoulder and dial this in just a little bit. Okay. Now, because this is in grain, we get a lot of sawdust, whereas typically you might get shavings, and it tends to foul it a little bit more. So this is a little easier to clean up or clean out. Now, to refine just this tiny little bit here, I'm going to use this hand tool, this miniature hook tool. I've got to have the tool rest out flat enough that it's behind the swan neck. Just adjust a little bit. And it needs to be cutting right on center. Okay, got that. Now I've got to decide exactly what I want to do with this throat. Do I want to go straight in? Do I want to roll it in? Okay, I think I want to roll it in, so to do that I need to scrape it. Just a little. A little bit of a rough edge there. I think I'm going to just try to trim that up a little bit. Okay, now all I've got to do is sand it up and then reverse it. Let me show you how we're going to do that. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure the inside throat. I'm going to take this piece of scrap pine. It's already got a tenon for a chuck, and I'm going to measure that and put a little tenon on it. And I'm going to be able to use that for a tailstock or for a drive center. Gives you some idea what it looks like so far. I'm going to take this down. Looks like it's almost, it just happens to almost be that blank. That tenon, let's see. Now I'll need to make it just a little bit bigger. We'll do some trial testing. And keep in mind, this is a construction 2x4 with side grain as opposed to a parallel grain, it's perpendicular grain, like a little bowl, so we're going to use a bowl gouge. And that's perfect. Okay, let's bring up tailstock. We're going to use the Powermatic Live Center with this racing ring. Let's get rid of this waste. That's going to be the bottom right there, slightly concave. So I need to finish shaping this. Bring it in. Okay, now we need to sand that, but we're going to go ahead and take this base down. Alright, we're going to sand this off before we go ahead and take this down. I'll do that off camera. Okay, I didn't finish the scene where I actually took off the nub, but I've gone ahead and finished sanding it. I've used my favorite Minwax antique oil, several coats, and then after it dries I'll buff it. But I'm real pleased with how it turned out. And I've got the branches kind of laying on top. The color I like. It's very nice. If you like this video, please share, like, and subscribe. See y'all later.